Sitting down on the. Sales had a picture.
Any spots? You think for parking downtown better?
Come on now.
Well, I was about to say.
Come on to play you. Mm-hmm.
Not to cry.
That is true.
How long?
Over 200 prisoners this year. Vote. They probably do.
The one mark once, but I haven't realized it is one day.
He got greedy. That one dude took off. That guy just stood there like something's gonna change.
Those ain't links.
You never know. Sometimes it's been pretty consistent, but the other locale where it's like, who knows?
You're gonna be here today.
It's like, officer, my goodness, we got everybody and. Like. You ordered. Up on Mountain Dew.
Oh, so then you check that and then you show
Little party.
Never know.
Yeah. That's one. Sure. Absolutely.
It's more.
No, I'm not.
You know.
No, you ever not? Okay, well, hey, that's.
Like fishing.
It's good for you, bad for me. Is that right?
Like 25 cents.
I don't mind it.
Ready?
Go ahead and get started this evening with the City of Centerton Planning Commission for October 4th of 2022 with the roll call.
Safar. Joey Engel.
Here.
Devin Murphy. Craig Langford. Jerry Harris. Don Sessom.
Here.
Ben Lewis. Tony Davis. Brandon Swoboda.
First thing on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from 9/20 of 2022.
John, I motion to approve the minutes from 9/20/22.
Joey, I second. Motion in a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, next on the agenda is the ratification of the admin approvals, which there is one. It's a kids cab and company. Are there any questions or comments from any of the commissioners or staff? If not, then I would entertain a motion for the ratification of the admin approvals.
This is Ben. I'll make a motion to approve ratification of administrative approvals.
Mr. Jerry, I second.
Motion is second. Is anyone opposed? All right, no old business tonight. We do have 4 public hearings under new business this evening. The first one is rezone 22-21. Acevedo, it's 8307 North Rainbow Farm Road. It is just over 5 acres. And A1 to R1. The applicant here, just to give us a brief overview, what they're requesting.
I'm Josh Collins for Anderson Engineering. We actually had our survey department do this. I don't know a whole lot behind it. But one note he did ask me to share with y'all is, I guess in the public notification, it was that if they were on a split this and sell it off or something to that effect. They don't plan to sell it off. I think a few relatives are currently living in the existing house. And then they build a new one, they're going to one in one house and one in the other. That helps out.
Okay, thank you. Eric, you want to give us a staff overview?
Yes, and I can also confirm the owner's intent received by email. Yes, we have a 5-acre agricultural lot that's going to be rezoned into R1. It is in the land use plan under the medium high density residential zone. And So. Pretty simple lot. It's just being rezoned to R1.
Okay,
The reason they had to do that is because they did the track split and that made it smaller than the minimum 5 acres. So
same as D, right? I believe. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Craig, I'll make a motion to open public hearing.
Wait a second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? We're now open to the public. If anyone wishes to speak, have any questions, comments in regards to the rezone 22-21, we ask that you come to the podium and state your name and address, any questions or comments you might have. Second call for anyone who wishes to speak. Third and final call.
This Jerry, I make a motion to close public hearing.
This is Ben, I'll second.
Motion to close the public hearing in a second. Is anyone opposed? Any questions from the commissioners before we go through what we need to consider? First thing to consider is the rezoning consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, including the adopted land use plan. If not, why? Technically, it's less intensive being the larger, it's smaller, but still residential compatibility. Does anybody disagree with that? Is the proposed rezoning compatible with the surrounding area and zones? And I do believe that it is in residential with residential area. Does anybody disagree with that? Would all the permitted uses in the new zone be compatible in this location and the surrounding areas? And again, residential, I believe, would be compatible. Does anybody disagree with that? Would the rezoning provide a benefit to one landowner but not be considered for other similar properties in this area? I do not believe that this, provides a benefit just to this one landowner. Does anybody disagree with that? And if the public is opposed, why? There were no public comments or objections. Anything else from any of the commissioners or staff before we consider the rezone? If not, then I would entertain a motion for rezone 22-21 at 8307 North Rainbow Farms Road.
This Jerry, I make a motion to approve rezone 22-21.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Kayla, if you'll do a roll call for me, please.
Joey Engel.
Yes.
Jerry Harris.
Yes.
Ben Lewis.
Yes.
Brandon Swoboda.
Yes.
Devin Murphy.
Yes.
Craig Langford.
Yes.
John Sessoms.
Yes.
Tony Davis.
Yes.
Jeff Bayfarth.
Yes. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda this evening is also public hearing. This is rezone 22-22 Skylight Properties 301 Greenhouse Road. It's 5 acres, A1 to C2. The applicant here to give us an overview.
I'm Joanne Johnson with Half Associates, and it's pretty straightforward. We just have a 5 acre tract that we're wanting to rezone from one to C2.
It's right on Greenhouse, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thanks. Donna, do you want to give us a staff overview?
Yes, so this is the section that they would like to rezone to commercial is located right off of Greenhouse. It is some existing commercial to the north with some denser residential development to the west and south. Greenhouse Road, as you all know, is part of a partnership between Bentonville and Centerton to be improved in months to year. And so this will be affected by that, and the large scale development, whenever we get it, we'll be looking at how this will affect that. Floodplain on this property, the area that they want to rezone is north of that, so it should not be within that. But we will, be looking at what they're doing will be affecting that. There is, this area is described as the eastern edge in the comp plan. It is designated as commercial on the land use plan. And is noted typical corridor commercial uses are prevalent here, such as large retail stores, fast food restaurants, and strip commercial centers. This is essentially what the C2 commercial zoning is. There's access to utilities, and it is generally consistent with compatible. There, it is slightly bigger than the section of the plan designates as commercial, but not by much.
Any questions or comments from any of the commissioners before we open up to the public? And at this time, I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing for rezone 22-22.
This is Tony. I make a motion to open up the public hearing of rezone 22-22.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, we're now open to the public. Is there anyone that wishes to speak in regards to the rezone 22-22, the Skylight properties at 301 Greenhouse Road? Second call. And third and final call for anyone who wishes to speak in regards to this rezone. I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
John, a motion to close the public hearing for rezone 22-22.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, let's go through what we need to consider. Is the rezoning consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, including the adopted land use plan? If not, why? And I do believe that it is consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan and the fact that it's commercial. Does anybody disagree with that or have any comments? Is the proposed rezoning compatible with the surrounding area and zones? I do think it's compatible. I like the notes around, the potential for protection, getting a little deeper in some other things, just as a note, as the development progresses. But I do believe, being on the main road, makes it compatible. Does anybody disagree with that or have any comments? Would all the permitted uses in the new zone be compatible in this location and the surrounding areas? Again, I believe, commercial wise, it would be compatible. Again, noting that they're, what they back up to and the size of the lot, but otherwise, I think, things would be compatible and, for this. Does anybody disagree with that or have any comments? Would the rezoning provide a benefit to one landowner but not be considered for other similar properties in this area? I do not believe that it provides benefit to this landowner. Does anybody disagree with that? And last, if the public is opposed, why? So there was no public comments or any objections in regards to this rezone. Any other comments or questions from any of the commissioners before we consider the rezone?
Yeah, there was one staff comment about the width. Well, about the ongoing road improvement design for greenhouse, but I think the increased width builds that.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's plenty of room there, which is nice.
Just want to bring it up.
If there's no other comments, then I would entertain a motion for rezone 22-22, the Skylight properties at 301 Greenhouse Road.
John, a motion to approve rezone 22-22 Skylight properties. Joey, a second.
Motion and a second. Caleb, if you'll do a roll call for me.
Tony Davis,
Yes.
John Sessoms,
Yes.
Craig Langford,
Yes.
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Joey Engel,
Yes.
Brandon Swoboda,
Yes.
Jared Harris,
Yes.
Ben Lewis,
Yes.
Jeff Safar.
Thank you. Good luck. All right, next on the agenda this evening is also public hearing. This is for rezone 22-23 at Vaughn Road, the east side of South Vaughn Road, south of Annika Estates subdivision. It's 54.42 acres, A1 to R3D and C2. Is the applicant here to give us an overview?
So it's pretty straightforward. We have about 54 acres that we're wanting to rezone the part that fronts on to C2 commercial and the rest of it be R3D.
Why the C2?
Well, because Vaughn Road is, it's Highway 279. I feel like highway commercial would fit there. I think our client also wants to put in a gas station, which would be C2.
Thanks. Donna, do you want to give us a staff overview?
So this parcel is located on the east side of Pond Road. It's about a quarter mile south of Grimsby Junior High. This area is rapidly developing. So we do find the R3D uses, particularly because of how rapidly this area is growing and the proximity to the school. The commercial will be supported by the arterial. Because of the limited commercial in the area. We do have some concerns that C2 may be a little too intense, but commercial would be good. We're not against commercial. We do think that C2 might be a little too much. But we do think commercial would be good. The adopted land use plan is low, medium density. Acre, RDP is 70 units per acre. And while the commercial is not explicitly allowed in there, the comprehensive plan does go in depth that we should look at each project on a case by case basis, maintain flexibility, and encourage commercial where it makes sense. Pond Road is a material, so it's pretty substantial. There is water and sewer access, but there's no floodplains, no wetlands. And there is some streams east of the property, but we don't think it will really be that fun. So, let us know.
Any questions or comments from the commissioners before we open it up to the public?
You mentioned that you thought C2 might be a little bit too intensive. Is that what? that for this area?
Because there's primarily residential around here, it's because of the uses that are allowed by rate. Locations are allowed in some of the other districts, but they're conditionally allowed. And so there would be some more restrictions that could be like screening and other things like that. So that's where we need more towards one of these other less intensive districts, where if there was a different client for some reason, there could be an auto or something like that that is permitted in C2.
Let's go ahead and open to the public. So I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Joey, a second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, we now are open to the public. Is there anyone from the audience that wishes to speak in regards to rezone 22-23? Second call for anyone that wishes to speak. And third and final call. I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
This is Joey, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing in a second. Is anyone opposed? Any comments or questions from any of the commissioners?
I think I tend to lean with staff's recommendation. I think if the service station is wanted by the applicant, then going with the highway or going with the residential commercial where it's allowed by conditional use would be a better option for the commission. We could take a closer look at it when it came in because it is in close proximity to all of the existing residential.
Yeah, I mean, it is not at a major intersection either, right? It's just kind of there in the middle of.
Yeah.
It's across from a current subdivision and then a new subdivision, correct?
You could have a car, there's no through road and
Right.
corner, that's a quarter mile north is the junior high school. So. you have a Car lot, a machine and repair shop. All sorts of things that would be permitted by right if it were that value.
Joanne, have you had any discussion with the applicant in regards to a less intense commercial? Have they considered that at all?
We haven't yet, but we could probably bring that up if we could go through with the conditional.
I guess the question is, would you table or do you want to table it or amend it?
Um,
If you'd like for us to do that, I'd ask that you come to the podium and make that request for us, please, just so we have it on the record.
Okay. I'd like to amend it. We do C1 instead.
So since she's going down to a lesser zoning, there will not need to be another public hearing, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Notifications.
To incur those costs.
Because you're doing, because you're doing less intense. We allow it to, you can do less intense without having to send out the notifications and having an additional public hearing.
To be clear, it's. And it would be C3, I believe. Correct?
C1's still light commercial.
C1 is.
Central business.
Or central business district, C3 is neighborhood commercial.
Commercial, which to me fits.
I think
this a
neighborhood
little
commercial
better.
probably fit better, wouldn't it?
And is it, just so we're
It's a little more
set
restricted.
this thing up for failure, if it truly is a gas station is the intent, is it allowed under a condition
Yes,
in 3?
yes.
But it's permitted by right in 1 and 2?
No, it's
Or just-
permitted, the only one it is permitted by right in is C2.
So if you'd like to request C3,
Okay.
then we would visit it again if it truly was a gas station as a conditional use.
So if I wanted to do a gas station, I could do conditional use under C3. Okay, can we amend it to C3?
If that's your request, yes. Thank you. So with that being said, are there any other questions or comments before we go through what we need to do there? First one is the rezoning consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, including the adopted land use plan, if not why? And again, I think the residential definitely is directly in there. The commercial, of course, with a busy road or highway does make sense, I believe. Does anybody disagree with that or have any comments? Is the proposed rezoning compatible with the surrounding area and zones? And again, I believe the residential, no questions, I believe with the C3 request, that it allows us to have neighborhood commercial type of things along that area, which again, it's developing. So in that case, with that, it would be compatible. Does anybody disagree with that or have any comments? Would all the permitted uses in the new zone be compatible in this location and the surrounding areas? And again, the residential, no question, I believe with the C3 designation, it helps us out from a compatibility perspective as far as the surrounding areas. Does anybody disagree with that or have any comments? Would the rezoning provide a benefit to a single landowner but not be considered for other similar properties in this area? And I don't believe that we're providing one single benefit to this landowner. Does anybody disagree with that or have any comments? If the public is opposed, why? And there were no public comments or any objections from anyone in the audience. Any additional comments or questions from any of the commissioners before we consider the rezone 22-23 which changes from A1 to R3D and C3 instead of C2. If there are no additional questions or comments, I would entertain a motion for rezone 22-23.
This, John, I motion to rezone, I motion to approve rezone 22-23, one to R3D and C3.
Motion in a second. If you'll do a roll call for me, please.
Gary Harris.
Yes.
Brandon Swoboda,
Yes.
Joey Engel.
Yes.
Tony Davis. Ron Sessoms,
Yes.
Greg Langford,
Yes.
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Jeff Safar.
Yes. Thanks. Good luck. All right, next on the agenda this evening is also public hearing. This is for rezone 22-26, the Coverly rezone at 5600 Brookside Road. It's 6.41 acres, requesting A1 to R1 and RE. I don't see Leslie here. Can here to give us an overview. I don't see her tonight. You want
Just like to point out, the notification requirements were not met for this public hearing, so.
Okay.
Public hearing cannot be held for this night. We are requesting the public hearing to be tabled to November 1st.
Can I ask what happened?
Just the, we didn't receive a certified mail. Certified mailing receipts.
Receipts? Any of them?
They couldn't provide any proof that it was mail.
so?
Everything else was. Good.
Yes, engineering firm and the property owners.
And with that, I would entertain a motion to table rezone 22-26, the Coverly rezone.
Jerry, I make a motion to table on 22-26.
Second.
Motion and a second to table. Is there anyone that's opposed? All right. November 1st.
Deadline for hearing notices for the 18th.
Did you get the other technical stuff worked through with her? In the last meeting?
Yes, yeah, we're working on that. The plat was signed and recorded.
Yeah, tax was done.
That would satisfy her urgent necessities.
She was able to close on the property. It is now been sold.
Perfect. Thank you guys for helping that. All right, next on the agenda this evening, it's development 22-04 Harps Food Stores Incorporated at 1250 West Centerton Boulevard. It is zone C2 and it's 12 acres. Is the applicant here to give us an overview?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commission. My name is Brandon Rush with Engineering Services in Springdale. The developer, Sarah Hopper, the real estate's also here. I can kind of walk you through. It's the northeast corner of Highway 2 and 279 South, 12 acres. 188 parking spots for 39,000 square foot food store. There's a lot of coordination that's happened between us and the city and the highway department to account for the road widening that's under study right now. We've also worked closely on the steep road extension along the west side of this project to account for that ultimately being built and fitting well with this development. There was one thing in the packet that I did want to point out. There was a comment about, excuse me, the middle of our three driveways to be a right in, right out. And it'll be a right in, right out. Once the highway department comes through, we're proposing to construct a typical driveway. Through any other questions?
All right, thank you.
Correct, Brandon.
Yes.
I'm to make sure I had it in the right spot.
Which one's at the roundabout? Is it the first one or is it the? Or the proposed roundabout, I should say.
About here, the highway.
Oh, there we go. Here's the proposed roundabout in this area. There's their middle drive, and then the drive furthest to the east. And this would be the future Deep Pro Drive. Or the potential future roundabout would be.
All right. Donna, do you want to give us a staff overview, please?
Well, as mentioned, there has been a lot of back and forth communication on this one. Particularly with the roundabout and the far off futureness of that construction. So. The C-Pro connection will be going from the south side of this property, eventually up through Timber Ridge Phase 2. We're working with the city to potentially be making that connection in the gap. But for this specific project, that one connected along the western property line until that roundabout is built. So the requirements are a little less on the south side, so less curve. And the sidewalk is curving around the outside of the area where the proposed roundabout would be. So that's why it's offset a little bit from the road. The adjacent street agreement has been approved by staff. We did discourage that middle roundabout, that middle drive, excuse me, because of how close they are on the arterial. As was mentioned, it's planned to be a right-in, right-out only once the roundabout's there. But we do still have some concerns about how close all of those drives are onto Centers Boulevard. A lighting plan has been provided, including parking lot lights. So that has met staff approval, as well as the landscape plans. We do have street trees. They've been pushed onto the inside of that sidewalk, so that way, whenever the roundabout event does eventually go in, all of those street trees that are planted. The drainage report has been reviewed and has received engineering approval. Overall, it's a good set of plans. We just got to make sure that it happens with RDOT eventually.
Has RDOT seen the driveways in relationship to the intersection? And they're okay with that?
It just has to be right in, right out.
Okay, I just want to make sure they got RDOT's approval.
He said it was full left turn too. All the roundabout is there?
That's right. So the right in, right out, essentially, there's gonna be a concrete median.
Sure.
So,
Is there a reason? Well, I'm gonna say, one, is there a reason for the drive? And two, is there a reason it's not right in, right out? We have, I mean, as you guys know, we have a lot of curb cuts on 102. It's a problem. We have traffic incidents. So that's obviously something we're looking at. It looks like your truck traffic's not using, it's just another way. No, correct?
I think that one will be used primarily by customers. The third one on the right is primarily gonna be used for trucks. So, I mean, in terms of having a lot of traffic in and out, I don't see them using all three equally. Rightmost one will probably mostly be used for deliveries and fish truck and things like that, so.
Not just connect the driveway to the right. And then you would have your truck traffic that could keep going straight and the customers could turn left. To go in between the store and the fuel pumps and then get around to the other side, or if they just wanted to park for the grocery side, they could just come in the larger entrance right at 279.
Be hard to work with the grades. There's a couple foot drop between that drive going around. So it's on a steeper slope where you can't get vehicles across that. If it's on a 4-to-1 or 5-to-1 between.
It looks like it the grade kind of slows down up there by the hydrant and the meter.
that middle access drive is very important to us. Otherwise, our customers are gonna be coming in at the back of the store, or they're gonna have to drive quite a ways down Steeple Drive before they can turn into our store. And that is really gonna be the most convenient access for customers. And RDOT has approved that driveway with left turn right now, but it will become a right in, right out once they do the road improvements. They've already told us that, and we're agreeable to that.
I know how busy the existing intersection is at 279 right there. And I just can see it, and I know it's gonna be an issue when people are turning left in that middle entrance, waiting for people to go by so they can make the left turn to go into that. And then traffic backs up to 279, and now the traffic situation is even worse.
Because there's no middle lane either. I mean, you're either
Right.
out or you're
Right.
not.
And the concrete barriers there that haven't traditionally worked around here.
We've taken them all down.
They can just get run over.
The right in, right out?
Yeah.
I'm saying,
And all of those.
So that's, they're talking about the concrete barrier that will be part of the
Like,
roundabout.
uh,
If and when it occurs, it'll be in the center of the road, not the little weird triangle in a drive.
Pork chop.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're
Okay.
saying
They physically won't be able to turn left.
it's this, right? So that medium won't allow people to turn
Okay.
left. Is there a middle ground in the meantime to keep that a right in, right out?
You're not gonna be able to prevent people really from utilizing it that way, other than traffic forcing them to not be able to make that left. If they're backing up to make the left to go south on 279.
Mountable curb isn't so mountable. That could deter.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta build something pretty big to keep them from still trying to.
6-inch curb would probably work. That's curved out. I just don't like it. I see it being a big issue until the roundabouts. What's that timeline? Do we have a definitive answer on that? Has anybody talked to RDOT?
Plus or minus 25, 26. Highly about 30, but it all depends on how much time the utility relocations take.
Joey, I agree with you. I think it's gonna cause a lot of trouble at that intersection at 279, backing up, turning right, turning left. And we already get a lot of comments in here from citizens who are upset with the amount of traffic and that's on 102 as it is.
Even with the roundabout, that second exit is really close to it.
What do we got? Like 200 and,
Right at 200, I think.
yeah, something like that. I don't see it as a make or break, if I want to come to Harps. I mean, overall, the plans look great. I mean, it looks like it'll be a nice addition to the city, but I know if I want to go to Harps, I'm not gonna not go just because I can't turn on the middle drive that's shown right here. I just think it's safer for the citizens.
I think a lot of people are not gonna use that drive anyway. It's gonna be harder to get in and out of with the traffic.
Right,
79.
right in, right out would make a lot of sense. Then my other question is, what about cross access for future to the rear and to the east? The north and to the east.
There's a pretty substantial retaining wall.
Is that what that is?
Line is a retaining wall.
The northeast corner, I think, is 18 feet.
Yeah, it gets close to 20 feet.
So it is a substantial retaining wall, like they're saying.
I mean, there's 40 foot of fall through the side, it looks like.
It's. The site has a great
Retaining wall opportunities. Other than that, I mean, thank you for the trees. The street trees look great. Yep. Never worked with them to do that, or if y'all propose that, I appreciate it. Really, my main concern is that middle drive.
And is the concern that you don't want it at all, or you want it to be right in, right out?
Personally, I don't know that it's needed at all. But I don't know that we have, I mean, RDOT's approved it. We don't have code to limit that.
And I would be more accepting of it right in, right out.
For sure.
get-go, Rather than changing it later, having to change behaviors that have been learned for how many years.
I mean, there's probably gonna be certain times of the day where people could turn left out of there, and I mean, I think you can't turn left, you don't turn left.
Well,
Um,
Then they're stuck.
That's
I mean,
great.
Then they're stuck. I mean, and
Blind would bury those, they'll argue with
My
you,
office.
because they will turn left when
I
you
mean,
can't
they
turn
take their
left.
lives in their hands every day.
Yeah.
They've got a middle lane, unfortunately. Here, they don't have a middle lane. I mean, they're gonna have to go for it.
Right, exactly.
That's exactly what I was thinking
Yeah.
about. This is worse because there's no middle lane.
People will wreck
I
that.
think right turn only is probably the best compromise. I mean, I know that y'all want that, especially with the fuel pumps being there. I mean, it makes sense. But I think that it opens it up to be very, very dangerous, and there's just a ton of traffic on there.
Would, maybe something right turning out? 'Cause it sounds like the left turning from the site coming on is an issue.
Cause you're gonna have potentially three of them all within, I don't know what that distance is, a couple hundred feet. You've got three of them trying to turn left.
I think
No place to go.
that-
200 feet.
I get it, but then you got somebody coming from the south, right? That's gonna be turning left or right off of 279. Creating this other hazard with three people trying to turn south, potentially left. You know, that's a lot going on. I mean, at Walmart, it's a mess, even with people trying to turn right. And there's three with a light. So I think you're setting people up for failure if you give them an option to turn, three of them turning left, just. Simple, it's not just my opinion. I mean, I think it's a lot of our opinion. So if there's an option to do a right turn to give a little bit more spacing, then I think that's an acceptable compromise. Especially since that's where the state's laying it down the road. And I agree with the behavior, but it's because you still let people come in to get to your gas station. If it's, you know, if you leave the middle one there.
Out if left turning into the site was allowed, but left turning out was not.
Yeah, I don't know what that.
Isn't that the way it is at Starbucks right now? Which, unless if you have a big truck, it works. I mean, you can turn over the curb. Which is what I do, but.
That's when they did those barriers, pork chop barriers.
I mean, it would have to be, I would want to see it. I mean, if you don't mind, I would think.
I just still don't think that's the right move here. I would feel way more comfortable with the right in, right out, and you guys could do that. I would feel comfortable voting on it tonight. If that's a compromise y'all can make. If not, then I probably want to see specifically what you're proposing.
Y'all look at another, well, that retaining wall's right there, isn't it? Did y'all consider another one off of Steep Row instead?
I don't think that there would be, I'm not sure how far their leg extends, but I don't think that would be allowed.
There was another one on Steep Row at one point. It was very close.
How many parking spaces did you say there was?
188.
I mean. You could almost, I'm just throwing it out there. I mean. You could almost have your aisle going down. Lose a little bit of parking. I mean, 188 spaces is a lot for 37,000 square feet, 39,000 square feet. You could almost off a Steep Row come down there right into the gas pumps, right? I don't know, just throwing it out there.
Well, that roundabout, actually.
Yeah, I can't tell on here though how far it's gonna go back.
Right.
It goes back quite a ways.
For the parking, there's 166 required. So there is wiggle room on,
They have 188.
yes.
Yeah, cause it's gonna come up to probably about there,
Yeah, that's right about it.
yeah.
Well, that's not what I wanted to hear.
Well, that's,
Sorry to
that's
disappoint.
the top edge of it. That's not the circle.
So that's the outermost.
When it starts tapering back to the normal road section width.
Sure.
Everything beyond that,
So the tape gonna.
And the concrete median would be,
extending even past.
We don't have that concrete median, do we? They'll put one in probably to match the rest.
and that goes up toward the north. Of course, it's gonna be much larger along Highway 102, but there still will be one going to the north and to the south. Again, just to ensure that people go that way and around.
I mean, if the,
You're round
The-
about that.
the end goal obviously is right in, right out when RDOT does that. Obviously you guys have already discussed that internally and proposed that and that works. I think all we're asking is just to do that from the get-go.
I mean, we would prefer not to, because we would like for people to be able to turn left into there, and I mean, grocery stores do have traffic, but there's not gonna be 10 cars lined up trying to get into Hart. I would love that if that was the case, but that's not usually how that works. I mean, when you go to the grocery store now, you know, you're probably not waiting in a long line of traffic.
So the
to
worry,
get into it.
as much 10 people waiting to turn left into Harbs, it's 10 people waiting to turn left to 279 south, where that turn lane is. If they're backing up to there, can someone turning left, is that gonna cause that issue where they can't get in because of the back up the other way and everything else? Whereas at 279 and then at the commercial entrance of the far east side, lots of that worry of turn conflict, them trying to turn in and the stacking of everyone trying to go south on 279.
We've had a lot of issues with pure number of curb cuts that we have on Centers Boulevard to prevent those same issues from happening.
And really, it probably shouldn't even have three, to be honest with them. That's how I feel.
Mind you, the first one though, isn't as much as a curb cut, it is a road.
Yeah, that's a city street.
On the west, the city street, it's not an entrance. So,
But it is. Long term, it's gonna be there. I mean, that's another curb cut onto 102, essentially.
but it's going to be a roundabout or an intersection. I mean, it's gonna be a road, same as 102 business.
Right.
So you don't consider.
Certainly consider the distance between entrances.
Casey's, you don't say Casey's has 3 entrances. They have 2, one on 102, one on 102, and one on Main Street.
Another prime example, right in, right out.
And if could, I'd like to make one.
That was, that's a bad example.
Yeah.
I understand, but I'm saying.
I know.
So you, it's not so much as an entrance right there. It's-
Right, and I think the overall issue is.
That's a good
space.
example of not 10 cars waiting to get into Casey's, but the backup that causes when one car is
Mhm.
trying to get in, you know, all the way around.
So if it stands, just to be transparent with everybody, I'm gonna vote no.
I don't have a problem with it with being RDOT approved. I mean, we've got similar properties along 102 right now. With the roundabout coming into play, I think it eliminate some of the concerns that I have right now currently. That's just my opinion. I'm in favor of it as presented.
Any other questions or comments before we consider the proposal? If there are no other comments, then I would entertain a motion for development 2204, the Harps Food Store at 1250 West Centerton Boulevard.
So wait a minute, before we do that, there's no appetite for changing anything. You want it to be presented like this?
Yeah, I mean, knowing that it will be right in, right out. RDOT has approved it as it is, and it will become right in, right out when they do the improvements to 102.
But it won't be right in, right out until then, correct?
Correct. That's how they've approved it.
And as of right now, we don't have a code, anything in our code that would prevent that from being allowed.
I'm just using judgment.
The way I look at it is, yes, there is potential stacking issues, but it's during the peak time hours, I see. So of a.
Okay.
10-hour day, you got 4 hours, 2 hours each morning that may or may not be congested. So, it'll work. I mean, it's RDOT approved. So I'm.
That was
Got
yeah, just.
Another bad example.
several already like this that have close together, so give them that benefit and deny this applicant this benefit, it don't make any sense.
I think we also realize that those have become a problem. At least I see it that way, so I don't feel comfortable approving another one.
I'm just
But
gonna,
that's why we're here.
The issue, I go back to it not being in the code. Technically, if something meets the code standards, it,
Well, then let's get a traffic study to justify it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, do we not have in the code right now that a driveway cannot be so many feet from an intersection? You're not.
we've been trying to get that done and fixed for a while, but no, technically, there's nothing in the code right now to say, no, they cannot.
so I'm gonna ask the new guy on the block, new kid on the block question. RDOT approved that this is right in, right out.
Once the roundabout,
Once the roundabout. So then. Do we get a say in the timetable of the right in, right out, or is that completely an RDOT thing?
They've approved it as is, and then thereas if the roundabout never goes in, then it's full access.
I can just tell you from having a student at Grimsley. It is slowly becoming, Centerton slowly becoming peak hours like all day. More than just, a couple hours here, a couple hours there. And with the amount of neighborhoods that are going up in and around there, that concerns me. Safety for our fire department and our police officers at that time, people making lefts and all that, I'm personally in favor of a right in, right out immediately. That's just from he wanting to be safe traveling to and from.
If there are no more comments, then I would entertain a motion for development 2204 for the Harps Food Stores at 1250 West Center Temple Park.
This is Jerry, I make a motion to approve. Development 2204 Harps Food Stores.
We have a motion and we have a second. Who is opposed?
I am.
Roll call.
Absolutely.
Barney Davis,
Yes.
Craig Langford,
Yes.
Jerry Harris,
Yes.
Ben Lewis.
No.
John Sessoms,
No.
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Toby Engel,
No.
Brennan Swoboda,
No.
Jack Safar.
Yes,
Devin, what'd you say?
Yes. It passed.
5-4. Thank you, guys.
You marked no, and I wanted to make sure that's not what you said.
What?
Next on the agenda this evening is development 2201, the Pomeroy Place Apartment Expansion. Large scale development of 589 North Main. It is zoned R4 multifamily. It's 0.55 acres, 24 dwelling units. Is the applicant here to give us an overview?
Did you say 24 dwelling units?
Sorry.
Did you say 24 dwelling units?
Yeah, we reduced that
to, nine dwelling units.
Reading what's on the sheet, man.
9 additional.
If you guys give me bad information, I'm gonna give bad information now, you know?
On the agenda, my bad, the report is accurate.
So we have a 9-unit apartment, basically an expansion.
Again,
George DeCame Balloon Associates. 2 buildings, one is 5 units, one is 4 units, 9 units total. It's an expansion of the existing Pomeroy apartments on Main Street. Sadie Lane is a private road that kind of a lot of the stuff is addressed off of. We've added parking, we've upgraded, well, we're gonna add an outfall structure to the detention pond to take into account the additional impervious area that we've got. We've done water and sewer, we're showing fire hydrants and all those elements in there. We brought in the section line so that the setbacks can be measured off the section lines instead of being off the center line of the road. So you're gonna see that the setbacks are actually have pushed the buildings a little further into the site to allow for the Main Street right of way. We're showing, I believe, a 10-foot trail along Main Street, at least in front of our property, street trees, parking lot trees. And we got rid of, I believe, any need for any variances on this site. So as of this point, I believe we are in pretty much 100% compliance with all the regulations that I know of. Oh, and Eric had told me to add a note, and I'm sorry, Eric, I forgot, but we're actually gonna use the existing dumpsters on the site. We're not actually proposing a dumpster on our particular site, so we will add that. Yeah, I didn't have that note, sorry.
That's good. So I got it in.
is there still just the one dumpster on the side up on the corner, or is there another one?
I believe there was,
I think there's some in the back.
I'm gonna walk.
Need a pointer.
Move it, Diane.
So there's a dumpster right here, and I believe there's another dumpster over here, and I forget if there's another one in the middle, but those are the 2 that I know of.
I mean, I won't make him chase the map around.
Eric, do you want to give us a staff overview?
And before you ask why this hasn't been replatted, it's just the financial nature of the
Why they haven't, the lots haven't been combined.
right.
Yes, we are financing that separately from the rest of it, so combining it was not an option.
That being said, so yes, with the tight nature of the lot, it's the maximum dwelling units that can be fit on a R4 MF parcel is 9 dwelling units. Will be access from there will be access from City Lane, which is a private drive servicing the Pomeroy apartments that will be that will be used through an access easement. It also, City Lane egresses into North Main Street, as well as Bliss Street. There are street trees on the lot frontage, and then 2 trees in the parking lot. The utilities will be provided by the existing Pomeroy facility.
They all public?
Public utilities.
Are they public or private?
Utilities?
All of them, the ones that you're tying into?
Water and sewer, yes.
Kind of odd with 2 separate parcels.
But for the most part, it's 9 townhomes on a little over half-acre lot.
So I have some easement questions. One, there's no utility easement shown. Technically, it looks like their meters are gonna be set on a different piece of property, the one it's not combined to. And then is there a need for a drainage easement since this is gonna convey across separate parcel into an existing pond that isn't on their property?
It has a drainage easement.
Okay, I don't see.
I'm not sure what page it's on, but
Put it on the site plan instead of this one, that'll probably show a few more.
plan's just zoomed in.
You can show the access easement that's on there.
So Sadie Lane between the parking spaces is noted as an access easement, so they can't restrict them from utilizing and getting in. They never did sell, granted, they're not going, the intent's never to sell the two properties. But also it denotes in there, and then the covenants that all of Sadie Lane's gonna be used as a drainage easement. Because the whole site's set to grade to the west into the pond. It's not showing. It's
George, do you think your access easement should come to the property line? And that's just in the drive,
To which property line?
your northern property line. You have some of your parking that's kind of in no man's land on the other property. If you zoom in on the parking closest to Main Street. Looks like the access easement doesn't go all the way to the property line unless I'm looking, or maybe it does.
It does.
Does it? Okay.
Zoom in a little bit more. Not really.
You can, see the hatching, that'd probably be the easiest way to see the access. You're talking about the parking being inside the access easement, right?
I was talking about the parking. I thought the dash line, which maybe is a grade break line or something.
No, there's, really, it wasn't, there is a grade break there, but the hatching should show you what the easement is.
Yeah, I thought the easement, the access easement stopped short of the property line. I understand you need to have 5 feet of.
Oh, you're saying only 15 feet of the 20-foot.
Right.
I thought you were saying where it tied into Main Street itself. No, it stopped at the right of way.
I have to look into why we don't have the easements for the utilities, but you're right, they should.
Yeah, I don't think it's an issue if they're all public and the easement comes to your property line, but
Yeah, we'll have to get it from Frank anyways, or
Malcolm. Yep. And those 3 trees are gonna be lonely, man, if y'all went ahead and put more up Main Street.
A lonely tree.
It's that.
Little happy friend.
Lose it.
Any additional comments or questions on development 2201? If there are not, then I would entertain a motion for development 2201.
I'll motion to approve, development 2201 Pomeroy Place apartment expansion.
There's Jerry, a second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? Thanks, George. Good luck. All right, next on the agenda this evening is subdivision 2008. Fox Haven final plat, the south side of Bliss Street. 300 feet east of Keller. It is zoned R3 single family and A1. 4.8 acres, 17 single family lots, 1 detention lot. Art, do you want to tell us, give us a quick overview or?
Yes, so just for the record, this is Tony Steele Development. Sugar Mitchell is buying some lots from him and we've been helping on getting this through, so we're helping him out, so just for the record, this is not Sugar Mitchell project. But that's totally fine. Yeah, 17 lots, 1 detention pond, pretty straightforward. We're looking to get final plat today on it, so if you have any questions, let us know. We have also Josh with Anderson here for any questions.
Eric, can you give us a staff overview?
All right, I put 15 lots on the report. It's 17. So yeah, this is concerning the final plat. Covenants and bonds. We are proposing kind of street improvements for this street. Okay, so 1 entrance into the subdivision from Blue Street lot frontage onto internal streets only. Hammerhead will be used for a future street connection, but for now it is also being used as a turnaround for fire engines. Connection to public sewer. Connection to public wire all along Wood Street. There is a existing private access easement for tract B, which will be vacated by the final plat. New access easement will be dedicated in its place. 15-foot utility easement located just north of the property line. And various utility easements are located along the lot lines and property lines of the lots. As mentioned before, a temporary access easement. Non-lanes are present. No indication by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and Wetlands. No common open space proposed for this development. There is one detention pond on the northwest side adjacent to Bliss Street. And for the most part, all comments have been addressed for final plat, and there's some minor comments for the warranty bonds.
The covenants were approved by Brian today. He said other than some minor. No, you just said they were completely.
Yeah, I didn't.
I was thinking of another one where I saw grammar edits. And I did double check and the bonds, the maintenance bonds are approved by staff. So those have all been. And they did provide, a new final plat and as-bills today. If there were any minor comments left.
Yeah, I see an easement being vacated by the plat. There's no.
It's a private easement, so it can be vacated by the plat.
There's just a private access easement.
Any comments or questions from any of the commissioners? If there are not, then I'm entertain a motion for subdivision 2008 Fox Haven, the final plat.
This is Tony, I make a motion to approve subdivision 20-08 Fox Haven final plat.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? Good. All right, next on the agenda is subdivision 2213 Prairie Brook Phase 4 final plat. It's at the northeast corner of Tycoon and Bush. It's zoned R3 single family, 7.04 acres and 36 single family lots. Art, this is you again.
Yes, so, we have 36 lots right here. Pretty straightforward as well. If you have any questions, I'm here.
Thank you. Diane?
Yes, this is phase 4 of the Prairie Brook subdivision. It's there's one more phase to go, 5 phases. They did have some waivers with the preliminary plat for the detention pond, 4:1 slope requirement, trickle channel and detention pond and the storm inlet type. The maintenance bonds have all been approved by staff, and the performance bond, it does say in here $1,200. Well, since I finished this earlier today, it has changed to $2,500, and that was per the request. 2,700. What is?
You're 3.
Don't go by what I saw before I did got here. $700. That's to cover. They had some issues with the curb and gutter because of their asphalt people decided to beat them to death when they asphalted the road. So they've replaced several of them and already started on it. They just couldn't get them all done prior till today. So at $2,700, it's what has been approved. Any right of way for Bush and Tycoon Road were dedicated with phase 1. Utility easements are proposed along the internal streets per utility placement guide. Those are 20 feet. Again, the adjacent street improvements have been completed already. The detention pond is on the very west side of the development along Tycoon Road. Yes, as one of y'all mentioned, we do seem to like them right along roads. That is still a sediment basin until phase 5 is completed. So they do have a performance bond that has been running from phase 1 all the way to phase 5 to ensure that those improvements, everything get completed. So we've been working with them. So that way we all understand what is expected with phase 5 since they are getting close. But the drainage report has received staff approval as much as it can with it being in different phases. Maintenance bonds, y'all better not have changed these on me in the middle of the day somewhere. Maintenance bonds as approved for streets and drainage is $381,226. That's for 2 years at 100%. And water and sewer, of course, that one's just 50% for 1 year. And the total is $294,912. And for just the 50%, it's $147,456. Again, ignore the amount for the current brand new performance bond. But the performance bond that was from phase 1 is $75,740. And hopefully that will be, all going away soon since phase 5 is about to finish up. All staff comments have been addressed on the final plat. Alan did have a few little minor comments on the as-built, but they were provided today with any changes. So they are good. Sorry for number changes at the last minute during the day.
Any questions or comments from any of the commissioners? If not, then I will entertain a motion for subdivision 2213 Prairie Brook Phase 4 final plat.
John, a motion to approve subdivision 2213 Prairie Brook plot and bonds.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? Thanks. Good luck. Anything else from staff? Anything from any of the commissioners? If not, there is a council meeting on 10/11. Our next PT meeting is the 18th. If you can't make it, please let us know. And there's a tech review meeting on the 20th. If there's not anything else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Second. Anyone opposed? Thank you, guys.